Hi, this is Josh with Programmable Audio. I'm here with the first tutorial in a series um, of tutorials that I plan on doing, not necessarily in the same theme, but all around Reaper. This one, we're going to look at setting up a drum rack in Reaper, similar to the one that you would find in Ableton. Bear in mind, this is going to be a bare minimum drum rack and not nearly as fully functional to start. Obviously, you can take what you learn here and expand upon it and make it better. So anyway, we're gonna start from the beginning. We're gonna you know go through every step of the way. I'm gonna teach you some tips and tricks that I know, and we're gonna go from there. So the first thing you want to do, I've got a controller here. This is the Behringer CMD Touch TC64. It is a Launchpad S clone um, from Behringer. Yeah, I said that. Doesn't work the same. It's missing some of the features. It does work very well with Ableton. Does not do much in Reaper except for sending the MIDI signals, and that's kind of what we're going to look at is making this work a little bit better. Set you up a drum rack, a drum kit at the same time, so you can kind of learn a couple of different things from watching this video. So the first thing we're going to do, you're going to plug in your controller, make sure your computer recognizes it. Next, once you've done that, you're going to come into Reaper. You're going to come to your options and your preferences, also Control P. And what you want to do here is you want to come down your list under devices, under MIDI devices. You want to look for, you'll find it here, Launchpad S and Launchpad S. That's why I mentioned it's the Launchpad knockoff because it's a Behringer Touch, but it shows up in your system as Launchpad, at least to begin with. There's other modes you can switch it to that'll make it show up as the Touch TC64. This is fine for us. So what you want to do here, you can right click on it, you can enable input and enable input for control messages, you can double click, you can check here. Make sure while you're in here, for this controller at least, we want to turn on the MIDI output. So same thing, right click, double click, enable output to this device. That's going to come in handy in a little bit when we start trying to get feedback from the controller. Right now I can push the buttons, it's on, but it doesn't do anything. And in Reaper, I don't have it set up to do anything yet. So we do that, it should be good to go. The next thing we want to do, we're going to use the built-in sampler to Reaper, which is the Resamplematic 5000. It is fairly basic, but it also fairly fully featured depending on what you're doing with it. So the first thing you want to do to get a nice MIDI track going is right-click in your TCP area, the transport control pane, and you're going to click Insert Virtual Instrument on New Track. Now that's going to save you several steps. When I first started, I would insert track and then you have to do all these settings to make sure that it's listening to MIDI and you can hear the output. That sets everything for you. You put a MIDI instrument on it and you're good to go. So I already have it. You can see it here. All plugins, instruments. It's going to be listed under Kakos, but it's the Resamplematic 5000. So we're just going to double click it, and that's going to add one Samplematic to this new track. Before we go anywhere, you want to do a couple of things. Well, one thing. You want to go to your input, your sends, receives. Might look different in your version of Reaper. The I/O button. So we go here. Well, let me reopen that. We go here, and here's what we want to do. So you see MIDI hardware output, no output. What we want to do, we've enabled the output to the Launchpad. You're going to select the Launchpad here for the output on this track. Let me show you why really quick. We're not going to hear anything, but now what you can see is as I'm pressing these buttons, you can see they're lighting up. Before they weren't doing anything, even though it was on. You can tell it's on now. You can tell it's responding. So it feels like you're getting that response out of it. You know it's working. You know it's the MIDI's going in and coming back out. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to start showing you how to start loading samples and using those and your notes. So we have Resamplematic on a track. There's plenty of ways you can load an item. And there's one I prefer. I'll go over briefly, but I will deal with the one that I like. And let's see. So you have import item for range. So you can. I'm gonna come to my Media Explorer here. So from here. Wow, that was really long. Let's go up and get some shorter samples. Let's do drum hits. You can drag in here, and then you can click import from a range, and that will make that come in. I don't really like that. That's a few too many steps. Um, the other option you can do browse here. That'll also bring up your list. I'm in the same thing. Problem here is you can't audition no clips, so I'm just going to click one. Oh, look, there it is. Okay, don't really like the sound. Next, and this is the method I prefer, come down to your Media Explorer, and you can find the sound you like. You can hear them. You say, oh, that sounds great. I'm going to drag it. I'm going to drop it in there now. So those are the ways to do it. I prefer that way. I can hear the samples before I load them. So great, we've got a snare. Well, how do I make a full drum kit? You say, let's add another Samplomatic. All right, let's go here and let's back to the Media Explorer. I'm gonna go up and let's find just a nice. Oh, what the heck? Let's put a tom in there. Let's go to. Okay, so we've got that. So you've got a snare and you've got a tom. Instantly you see anything you push, it's playing both sounds at once. So you want to come in here on each one of the things you start putting in. So we've got the snare here, the tom here. You want to look at these note start and note end. You can see that note starts at 0 and goes all the way to 127. And that's the same on both of them. That means that no matter what note you hit on your MIDI controller, it is going to play that resamplomatic sample. So what you want to do is you want to pick notes. This might be easy if you're using a keyboard MIDI controller because you know what middle C is, you know what C3. However, on a controller like this, it's not entirely obvious. If you kind of look down the side here, you can see C0. So you must assume 1, 2, 3, 4. Not necessarily true. So one foolproof way you've got to find what note you're sending. So you want to come in here, go to your JS folder, and you're going to search for MIDI. We're looking for, actually I believe it's in the Cockles folder. Let's go to all plugins. We'll search for MIDI, MIDI control. Drop that at the top of your track. This is great. This gives you some features here. Haven't played much with it. I usually do this. You show log. You have your Midi Activity Log here. So then, when you hit any of these notes, you can see channel 1, note 0, velocity 127. So you know this is note 1. Note 1, channel 1, note 1. Oh, I'm sorry, note 0. So let's choose, I'm going to choose this bottom row because you can, oh heck, let's do the middle one. You guys can kind of see it better in the video. So I'm going to say, okay, we're going to choose 4 sounds for now. So I've got 64, 65, 66, and 67. Alright, we don't really need that anymore. So let's go to, we'll change both of these to 64, and both of these to 65. So that's the note start and the note end. What you'll see now is, if I come here and I click that first one, 64, this lights up, you only hear the snare. If I go to the next one, 65, tom, good. So now you're starting to get them set up. They're starting to be separated. Same track, same MIDI input, but they're separated, so you can actually start to see how you would make a drum kit out of this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a few more of these Samplomatics here for good measure. I'm just going to put in, what did I say, did 4? It doesn't matter. Just do Samplomatic. I think I can just click and drag. Yep, so you can just do 2 or 3. So I've got a snare, I've got a tom. Let's do a couple hats and a kick. So we're going to come in here. Let's go find us a nice kick. Sure, kick. you'll see these change: snare, analog, tom, kick. That'll be important in just a minute as well. Sorry about that, guys. That is incredibly loud. Let's find some other ones. Go to my percussion samples. I've got hi-hats in here somewhere. So we're going to do hi-hat 24. 42. What the heck ever. That did not work. I accidentally dropped that on a new track. As you can see, I'm new to all of this. I'm still trying to figure things out. Hopefully, it's less intimidating for you learning with somebody who's also having some of the same issues you're having. So anyway, we're here. We're going to do 42. All right, so we want to change those note opens, note starts, and note ends. What do we end with? 65, so it's going to be 66, 67, 68. So kick is 66, hi-hat 67 for note start, note end, and 68. So in theory, I should be able to go down the list here and well, give me a second. All right, so we've got them all loaded. Go down the list. Snare, tom, kick, hat, hat. So we've got that all good to go. Next, I'll show you a couple of things. We're gonna go in. Let's just put down a nice little beat really quick. We'll do 2 bars. I'm gonna open my Midi editor here, and here's where this is nice. So look, as soon as you come in here, you can see all of your samples labeled out. You got the hi-hat, kick, tom. So we're gonna put down some notes here. We're just gonna do a quick 4 on the floor beat here. What am I doing? You know what? Okay, so here's my problem. No, snap to grid is on. What the heck is going on here? Grid 116. Triplets. See, look, you gotta watch it. This Midi editor is pretty powerful. You can choose your grid length. You can choose your grid type: triplet, straight, dotted, swing. You can choose your note lengths. Also, triplet, straight, or dotted. You can snap to a key. We're not going to do that for a drum rack. So let's make sure this is all set straight. And let's try this again. I'm going to just bump out. We're going to drop some hi-hats in there. All right, here's a trick. I've got almost a bar. Control D will, well, duplicate that entire bar. Not exactly what I wanted, but that's fine. We're gonna roll with it. There's a hi-hat. Let's drop it down to the snare. Snare. See, can I just duplicate that? Yeah, nice. So here we go. I've made a silly beat with. I'm going to do a little bit more to kind of add some interest here. I mean, you guys don't need to follow along with this, but feel free to. So here, listen to it. Great. Not the best, not a drummer, but that's what you've got. So now there's several features or tricks that you can use to kind of add interest to your drum rack, your drum kit, your MIDI. So the first thing that we can look at here, if you come back into your Resample-matic, there's this button here, the list. The list is nice. I'm on hi-hats. Let's go to, oh, what the heck. So hi-hats, we do list. We're going to say add the list. We're going to just shift and click, and we're going to add a bunch of them. Now we've got all of these. We're going to sort by RMS, so that's the perceived loudness that your ear hears from these. So from the quietest to the loudest. Now what happens if you come in here, medium hi-hat, what was that? 13. So, which one? Wait. I just saw 13, but that's, let's see, let's get out of the list. EDM hi-hat. Oh, right, 42. It's named after the first one you put in there. I apologize. That's confusing. That's why you should probably, rename, come in here, rename those. Let's call it hi-hat open, just for good measure. Apparently my caps lock is on. I'm not really going to worry about that right now. But that should, well, no, I was wrong. Look at that. It doesn't update it. Interesting. I will have to look into that one and get back to you guys on that a little later. However, let's just keep moving on this. Let's not worry about that too terribly much right now. Let's get back to that. So we went to our hi-hat open. We added the list. So here's what you want to do next. Come down here, and you're going to click Round Robin. Probability 100. That means every time you hit that note, G4, it's going to play one of those notes. Round Robin, in the default state, will take the maximum velocity, 127, divide it by the number of samples you have, and then play the appropriate sample from the list based on that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If we added one more, that'd be about 12.7 points of velocity for each hit. So let's close this, and I will just, let's do a new one here. We're gonna say, open this up, hi-hat 24. Oh, it does change. I don't know why it does that. Anyway, I obviously have a lot to learn myself. I know it's obnoxious. Let's bring this up. There's other ways to do this, but so we're gonna drop this down. Well, for whatever reason, it's not letting me change the velocity. Okay, so you can see the number changing here. We'll go to about 11, 22. So we're looking at about 12, maybe 11-ish per. So 33, 44, 42, 43, 50, and the 60s. Oh, no, I said it. So, fighting with this myself. This one's going to be in the 70s and 80s. So, in theory, what we should see, even if it's not, if I highlight this and I put this on loop and I play it back a couple times, you guys should hear the difference in those samples based on the velocity. And that by itself has already added some interest to your kit and the sounds. I mean, that's just a straight hi-hat groove, but it sounds a lot better. I mean, I like that. I might use that. So that's the round robin. You can do that with any and or all of them, but then you've got this issue of putting them in at the particular velocity. Now, a lot of controllers, the keyboard controller that I have is velocity sensitive. This thing is not. Okay, see, so this is the one. Hi-hat 13. And no matter how hard I hit it or how lightly, it doesn't do anything different. So if you have a velocity sensitive controller, that's going to help you out a lot. It's going to be a lot easier to, light tap, hard tap, and get that sound that you want. Otherwise, there's some options. You saw how I manually set the velocity here. There's another one, another script that you can run. And if you give me a moment, I will get that up. I will show you how to run it, and we'll take a look at that. All right, so there's this script called I think it's got a generic name, but it's a velocity randomizer. So if you don't have a velocity sensitive controller and you don't want to mess around with trying to set these velocities by hand, there's a web page on the Kakos forum with the script. You download it, you save it, you load it into Reaper. I can make that script to download in the description below. Feel free to download it and load it up. So what you would do is you come in here, you show your action list, and you would rescript, load, and then load that file. I already have that loaded up, so I'm gonna search for velocity. Look right here, script velocity randomizer. So you can choose your velocity. Say, you know, you want to make it humanized or whatever. You've got a crazy drummer who always hits hard. You could say, 100 to 127, and that I believe is applied to the time selection. So let's see what happens if we do that. Um, okay. Possibly. Well, let's try it this way. Not time selection. Let's select all the notes and then run the script. Let's make it a little more widely varied. 75 to 127. Click OK. Aha. Yep. See. So it's instantly randomized those based on the range I gave it. So now I'm running it again. Now let's hear the difference. Not bad. I kind of liked the stepping up that I had going on before, but it still gives you some quick, easy interest in that drum rack, in that drum line. The final piece of advice I'm going to give you on this particular drum rack tutorial, and like I said, take this information, run with it, and improve upon it. I'd love to see what you guys do in the comments. Play with it. Give me some advice for making this better. If I've missed something or I've done something wrong or there's an easier way to do it, love to hear it. Should have saved that for the end. However, here's the last bit I'm going to show you. So if you're used to Ableton, you're used to the drum rack, it's quite nice actually. It's one of the features in Ableton that I really like, along with the whole clip launching piece that this controller does. However, one of the pieces, you can take the specific drum samples from Ableton and you can send those quite easily to your sends. Now, if you're not familiar with Reaper, Reaper is amazing with routing. Um, Nothing else like it as far as I know. Not an expert. Take my word with a grain of salt. However, um, you can do the same thing. It just takes a little more work because it's not pre-programmed. So what you want to do is you can come in here to your FX. Well, let's stop. Let's insert a new virtual instrument. So we're gonna come in here. We're gonna say reverb. I know I'm sounding it out like an idiot. Whatever, reverb. So we're gonna put. No, I don't like this one. That's not the one I thought it was. Reverberate is the one that I'm used to seeing. So this is just your basic reverb plugin from Kakos. I don't think it matters for the purpose of demonstration. I'm not going to mess with the presets. I'm not going to show you how to parallel compress your drums or anything like that right now. This is just the drum rack. We're going to now send specific things to different sends. So what you want to do, come back in here. Let's find that kick. We want a nice boomy, reverby kick. Well, it's all here. And if you look at it, it's going to, I don't know why that closes, the master send and nothing else. So what we can do, you can change it here, track channels. You would want to put 2 more channels for every send you want for your drum rack. So 2 channels for the reverb, 2 channels for the delay, 2 channels for the distortion. Right now, we're just going to live with 2 extra channels for reverb. Now you can do it here, or you can come over here too. So I've got your drum. selected, you can click this to out button, and you can see VST out 1 and 2 goes to 1 and 2. That's your master send. If you push this, you now have a 3 and 4. So if you check this and check this, your drum Samplematic is now sending 1 and 2 to 1 and 2 and out through 3 and 4. So that means we need to send 3 and 4 somewhere. You can do that a couple of ways as well. And this is your choice. If you want to just send it straight to reverb and not the master, you can do that. Keep them both checked to do both. But what you'll see here is if you come back to that routing panel, that input-output, you now have track channels 4. So that's great. You can do add a new send here. I believe there's a way to do it over in the FX panel. But the easiest way, the way I like to do it, just grab, click, drag that I/O panel onto the reverb. Bam. Now it says you're sending audio 1 and 2 to 1 and 2. I'm going to turn off the MIDI. I don't want the MIDI going through. And remember, we set up that 3 and 4. So anything that's 3 and 4 is now going to send to 1 and 2 on the reverb track. So in theory, we should be able to take this. Well, let me make sure my track has arms. Otherwise, it doesn't play. And you can hear that reverb already. So yeah, you hear that. It's kind of like a horrible barking noise. Don't like the reverberate myself personally. If any of you Reaper people have advice on how to make this sound better, I would love to hear it. But anyway, quick and easy. That's how you send something to like a send track. Be aware, like I said, that drum is still sending out 1 and 2, which is this master send. So you're basically doubling the sound of that drum. You may want to consider, pulling down the send volume here to the reverb track, just so it's not as loud. Turning down the reverb overall, so that's not as loud. Unchecking the master send, the 1 and 2, over here in your 2 in, 2 out. If you do that, all you're getting is this. Anyway, that's an easy way to add sends. I think that about covers setting up a drum rack. I mean, like I said, there's a lot more you can do. You can get really creative. But in the meantime, we've set up a basic drum rack. You've got your sounds. You can play your, you know what I mean? I mean, that's all the stuff we put together. You've got your round robin with velocity sensitivity. You've got your re-samplematics playing on different notes for different drum samples. You've got your sends. If there's anything else that you want to see, you want to learn, let me know, and I'm happy to do another short one-off tutorial. Otherwise, I hope you've learned something. I hope you can use it. I'm sounding like Kenny Joya now. I apologize for that. I'll come up with my own catchphrase next time. But see you next time.